All right, a very good morning to you. It is exactly 8 a.m. and I hope that you're having a better start to the day. Welcome to the show. The show is Your World. My name is Winnie Lubembe, and today, like every single day, we want to have a very important conversation that involves all of us, and this is all about gender inclusion. And today we want to assess gender inclusion right here in the country. And again, this is not a new conversation. We have had such conversations over and over and over and over again, and Kenya has made strides as far as gender inclusion is concerned. But the big question is it enough? Okay, and what is it that we can do, all of us that is, to make sure that we promote gender inclusion right here in the country? And I know if you are this kind of people who, when we start talking about gender, you immediately think about it in a negative way, all right? Of empowerment of the girl child. Oh, women have been overly empowered. No, okay? We want to understand how gender equity and gender inclusion is very important, and this is in promoting different aspects of not only our lives, but our communities and our nation at large. And today I have a very important guest. Her name is Margaret Mbira Omondi, and she is the Executive Director, Women Concerns Center. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you.
You look lovely.
Thank you.
For this morning, and really thank you so much for coming by to help us really understand this important conversation and get to understand where we are at as a country as far as gender inclusion is concerned. But before that, can we just first of all start with Women Concerns Center, all right? And this is a Kisumu-based grassroots movement, but tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, thank you. My name is Margaret Omondi. I'm the Executive Director for Women Concern Center. Women Concern Center is a community-based organization that is advocating for rights of women and girls at the grassroots level. Okay. The main work that we do is to see how we can protect women, looking at issues of peace and security for women, issues of gender-based violence. How do women work when it comes to issues of women land and property? Access to justice for cases that we are getting at the community level. Yeah. So basically that's what Women Concern Center is doing, working in partnership with the other partners within Kisumu County. Yeah.
All right. And also there's the Reinvent program,
Yeah.
okay, which I really like. I really like the name of it because of all the possibilities, you know, that are there as far as reinventing, as far as inclusion, as far as, you know, access as well. Because like you said, first of all, Women Concern Center, a grassroots movement,
Yes.
if I could call it that way.
Yes.
But really, can we understand more on the Reinventing program? What is it all about?
Okay. Reinvent program is an acronym which means reducing insecurity and violence extremism in the north and the coastal region of Kenya. Reinvent program is a community safety and security program that is supported by the British High Commission in Kenya. It looks at strengthening and community response to conflict, violence, crime, insecurity across the 18 counties of Kenya. Right. Reinvent works in 18 counties. Women Concern Center is one of the partners under the Reinvent project. Right. At the grassroots level. We have partners who are at the national level, and we have partners who are working down at the grassroots. So Women Concern Center is supported by Reinvent project to do activities of insecurity at the community, working with women. That is why we have formed the community grassroots movement that can support women in case of any violations that is coming in. Yeah. We do a lot of work under the Reinvent project on violence against women and girls. How do we support our women aspirants during elections? We have a project on violence against women during elections that is fully supported by Reinvent project.
All right.
Yeah.
There's so much work that goes
around the community.
Right, in the different counties as well. And like you said, there's Mombasa, and especially for Invent projects. So
Yes.
Mombasa and
Mombasa,
North, yeah?
we have Mandera, we have Wajir.
Okay.
In the Rift Valley, we have Nakuru, we have Kerio. In Western Kenya, we have Kisumu, then Bungoma being part of the counties being supported by the Reinvent project.
Okay. And I'm just curious, why this counties? I know probably there is plan to extend this to all,
counties.
Right? All these other parts of the counties. But why specifically this counties? Is there maybe research that was done, you know, to really understand where women are at in this specific counties?
Yes.
Or, why?
Most of these counties that Reinvent is working in were counties that were marked because of issues of violence and a lot of crime, what do you call it, extremism, in issues of radicalization. So this is why they are working in the coastal region and part of the northeastern side. Other areas like Kisumu was coming in because Kisumu has been one of the counties that is known for issues of violence during electioneering period. So these are the counties that they were targeting, but it doesn't mean that they will not work in the other counties. So like for us, we've been having a lot of cases of violations during elections on women. And that is why we were supported to see how we can try and support, work closely with the male counterparts, that is the male engagement. How do we bring them in to also try and support the women during the electioneering period?
Absolutely. You know, that was going to be my next question. So when we talk about all those things, and most of the time, like I said, when we talk about gender, most of us, it's very easy for us to quickly go towards women. But really, that is not just the case, right? There's also the male, who, again, in as much as women are, again, carry the biggest brunt as far as, you know, violence, first of all, is concerned. Also, men experience the same. And again, I was going to ask, so then where does this leave the men, or how do men, you know, come in? Which, again, we'll address later as we continue with the conversation. But now that we know about the Reinvent program, and now that we know about Women Concerned Center, I'm just curious to understand, from your perspective, where would you say we are at as a country? Let's just track that, first of all. I know we've made strides, right? But where are we at, in your opinion?
For me, as a person from the grassroots, I would say we are at 60-40 percentage, I would put it. We have tried, and I would say that after devolution, a lot of things have happened that have given women opportunity to participate in the development of their community. I would talk about the county governments coming in place and the positions that women hold in the county government. Basically talking about my county in Kisumu, we have a balance even when it comes to having our county leaders, executive officers. It is balanced. We have women, 4 women, and we have 5 men on the other side. So I would say that is something that we have achieved as women. We look at positions in the county government in Kisumu, and we find that women are there. And I would say that the struggle is that how do we now work as women to see that we empower that woman at the grassroots level to be able to also reach where the other women are. Yes, that is, I think, our next agenda.
All right. I see that. And you know, when we talk about equality and having equal opportunities, because like you said, we've made strides, yes. We're seeing more and more women, you know, taking up this leadership positions. We're seeing more and more women owning land, right? For example, we're seeing more and more women, you know, fighting for their families to reduce, you know, cases of poverty. Teenage pregnancy, again, is really a whole conversation in itself. But for those ones who have taken up these opportunities, right, and for those ones who are there, who are present, the biggest question is, because there's one thing to be there, but there's also another thing to be heard, right?
Yes. And
participate. And participate, yes. Because there are a lot of conversation about, yes, women want to be given these opportunities, but then women say, no, we do not want to be given.
We want to earn it.
We want to earn it. But at the same time, once we earn it, we also want to be heard, right? So then how do we empower women to reach to that level of, you're there, you're present, but you're also heard, your voice matters? Yeah,
I think that is an important question. We've also been asking ourselves, Are we there to be seen? Or are we there to participate
Yes.
and fight for our spaces where we are? For me, I would say that we still have a lot to do when it comes to issues of women empowerment,
Okay.
regardless of the positions where women are, be it at the grassroots level, be it at the national level.
Yeah.
How are we still empowering women? And for those ones who are there, are they ready to also try to pull the ones who are down?
Okay.
Because when you have a position up there, how are you pulling your other sisters who are down here? So issues of women empowerment is something that we cannot stop. We still need to continue as a country. How are we bringing our women on the table? What discussions are we having as women?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we need to move ahead and thrive and see how we get the spaces.
Yeah.
We are looking at issues of gender, the gender balance. If we talk about equality, we are not, when we talk about equality, men always think that we want to be equal to them.
Yeah.
It is not that.
Yeah.
We are looking at issues of education. How are our girls being
Yeah.
put into education
Equal
system?
opportunities.
Equal opportunities. We are looking at issues of, we have committees at the community level. How are women getting into those committees? And just like what you said,
Yeah.
when they're in these committees, are they only there because we are looking for the two-third gender?
Two-third gender.
Yes.
Which has been a contention for a very
yes.
long time. Yeah.
And I think it is something that we really need to look into because at the grassroots level, you'll find that women are sitting in those committees, but they don't have a voice, just like what you had said earlier. They don't have a voice in those committees.
Yeah.
It is only that they are there because the law says that they must,
We need
we
to
need
have
to
some
have,
sort of
to
balance.
to balance.
Yeah.
Yes. But in reality, they do not have a voice in the committees that they sit in. So we are still saying empowerment needs to continue.
But why is this the case? Because, you know, someone would argue and say, but you wanted these opportunities,
Yes.
right? And these opportunities, we don't say you are given. you
You earned it.
You're there.
Yes.
But still, you're not being heard. You know, we don't hear your voice, right? So is it more of then the women not taking up, you know, this roles? I don't want to say seriously, but, you know, with an understanding of, you know, the kind of not burden, but, you know, that it weighs on them, that they need to fight so that the women who are watching them,
Yeah.
you know, will look up to them and say, you know what, this one actually really fought for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like what you're bringing up.
Yeah.
Are we the ones who are not taking our responsibilities in those committees seriously?
Yeah.
Or is it something that is it's hurting us? I will talk on issues of culture, which also brings
Plays a very big
a
role.
lot of problems to women. Sometimes you sit in a committee and, you know, as always, men will always have some issues,
Yeah.
even in those committees that women sit in. And discussions will start behind your back.
Yeah.
This goes around even back to your home.
That's true.
And discussion starts now brewing.
From there.
Your husband now starts bringing issues that, oh, you are in this committee, I hear this and this and this.
Yeah.
That heart of discouraging the women from doing what they're supposed to do, even in those committees. That you find sometimes one even opting to now leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they don't have
Yeah.
a voice over there.
Yes.
And that's very interesting what you're bringing up, because this morning I was listening to a very interesting conversation, again, still on the same, you know, gender inclusion and gender equality, equity, you know, as well, very many times.
Yeah.
They surround the same. And this guy was saying, I am raising a girl. And in as much as we're talking about equality, and she wants to play football,
Yeah.
because she asked to play football. And then
Football,
I was
yeah.
like, absolutely, by all means, go ahead. And she's doing very well. She's a really good football player. And he said, at the same time, I do not want her to lose her femininity side. So what we do to balance this is me as the dad and the brothers,
Yeah.
we open the door, you know, for her, whether it's, you know, the car,
Yeah.
whether it's, you know, getting into the building and whatnot, because I do not want her to forget that. So yes, I am allowing her to do all these
All
other
this,
things
yeah.
that she can, but we also don't want her to forget her femininity side, which I think was a very interesting, you know, aspect to look at. And now that you're saying, even at home, we need to bring such conversations.
Yes.
So then how do we do that so that we empower this young girl, right? We empower this woman to, yes, in as much as you're a woman,
Yeah.
and there are those roles that really we can't run away from,
From,
right?
yeah.
But at the same time, be strong enough to fight for what you believe is right. Fight for your rights. First of all, understand your rights as a girl, as a woman, as a young boy as well. So what sort of conversations should we then have at home? And at what point do we start such conversations?
For me, I think the mall engagement aspect really comes in handy when it comes to issues of how do we start engaging with our male counterparts.
Yes.
And this needs to start from an early age. Just like what you're discussing, that the father opens the door for the girls and ABCD.
To remind her you're still a princess.
You're still, yes. Those conversations need to start at an early age.
All right.
How do we involve our young boys in schools to start understanding and realizing that gender equality is something that is supposed to be there.
Yeah.
They need to grow up knowing that women also need their space.
Yeah.
So male engagement into all the activities that we are doing when it comes to women empowerment, men needs to be involved. Right. Because sometimes you have women in sessions, but we leave men behind. When they go back, whatever you have discussed with them in these meetings, when they reach home, they will not apply them. Yeah. Because that man at home does not understand her. She's an empowered woman now. Yeah. Why are you bringing this into my house? So how do we engage with the male counterpart and just also empower them, have sessions during our workshops? How do we engage? Do we mix, or we do women alone and men alone? How would we bring them together to see how they can work together? Work together.
So that it's not us versus them.
No, it's not us versus them.
Yeah, because like we said when we started the show, the whole aspect about gender, we usually, I mean, most people would look at it that way. It is us versus them, right? And more focus on, yes, women empowerment, but then it's like we're fighting, you know, the boy child, or we're fighting this man. But what you're saying is we need to have all these people at the table, right? So that this other gender can also help this other gender. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we need to grow together.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, you'll find that sometimes you'll find a man whose wife has been maybe given a position in the committee. Some of them support their wives.
And that's beautiful
to
see. Yes,
some of them support their wives. And maybe there's something that the wife does not understand. You can go home, discuss it with your husband. There's an area that he will also help you.
That's true.
So this is why they come in handy, because they can also support you. Maybe you have, like, we go out sometimes to workshops. You stay there for 2 or 3 days. Okay. In most occasions, some of the women come back and have a lot of problems in their homes. Okay. Yes. So when you have a man who understands that a woman needs to be empowered, it makes work very easy for her, that when a workshop is called somewhere, she can go and the man can take responsibility of the house. But you find sometimes that women have to go for workshops, they need to leave their homes and maybe go to a hotel or somewhere, and the man says, no, you can't go. Yeah. So this is why we are saying involving them becomes very important. And this is one area that we really need to now start looking at as a country. How are we engaging men in all the activities that we are doing as women?
Okay. Yeah. So from the grassroots level, because I want to believe that it's not different in terms of how it looks or the result that we're all looking for, but the approach. Because what would happen at the grassroots level might not be the same approach that will be applied, right, at the national level, and even at a household level, at the different communities. Because again, like you said, culture, you know, plays a very big part in the same. So then, how does this look like in terms of the approach? Because we have had this conversation over and over again, right? It's over 20 years, over 26 years, I would say, since the Beijing, right? You know, conference. And we have these conversations year in, year out. So what new approach can we employ to make sure that when we talk about involvement, it's not you need to understand that we are women and we need to grow in this sense. No, but you know, how is it that you can come in and support us? So what is it that we need to sort of like switch a little bit just to make sure that we achieve this at the end of the day?
Yeah, I would say that the structures that we now have in the country would also help us. Okay. Because we have the gender sector working group that now brings the duty bearers and the stakeholders together to see how we can look at issues of gender equality. And under the gender sector working group, it is now cascaded up to the county level. Yeah. And we are looking at the different thematic areas that we had then in the gender sector working group. One of them being the GBV pillar. Then we have the peace and security pillar. We have women in leadership. Then we have women economic, socio-economic and inclusion. And then the one that is now added is the male engagement. The reason being, we've been walking this journey, but we had left the male engagement.
Okay.
But right now, the male engagement is under the thematic areas of the gender sector working group. So how are we involving the men? This is something that has already started in the community.
Right.
And I would say that I will pick my county, Kisumu. We are currently working on the TORs for the thematic areas in the gender sector working group. This would also allow us to see how the county governments now start planning and even looking at issues of gender responsive budgeting. How do they budget for the activities that are supposed to be done at the community that will involve both the men and women, when it comes to gender equality.
All right,
Yeah.
I see that. And again, when we talk about like gender equality, there's so many, again, facets to the same. And like you said, so many terms, okay? So we've had all about gender equality,
Yes.
okay? And then there's the gender just. And then gender inclusive.
Inclusive, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to just take us through, because again, like I said, some people would see it on the negative side, but really, that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
so is it that
yeah.
people don't really understand, the whole aspect about equality, about, inclusion, about just?
And just. For me, I would say that most people don't understand it.
Okay.
And that is the reason why, when you don't understand something, it's not easy for you to engage.
True.
Yes, and this is the problem that we are having. It is for us now as the actors on the ground to see how do we start empowering our community members to understand issues of gender equality, just gender inclusion. How are we doing this as the CSOs and the duty bearers? Because we have the laws that also govern us.
That's true.
That looks at this. Are we implementing these laws? Because that is one thing that we need to look at.
Yeah.
Why are we lagging behind? We have the laws that are there. Are we really looking at these laws? And we have devolution now. We have so many parts in the devolution that we can tap in also as women. Yes.
I see that. I see that. And like I said, not just to be seen, but also to be heard and take up these opportunities. Because for a very long time, yes, the opportunities are there, but because again, we're living in a patriarchal society. It will be easy to assume that the men will take up that, right? So we tend to
shy off
some
as
of
women.
this exactly. But really, over time, we're seeing this change, which is a good thing to see. But the biggest question is then, how do we sustain this, even for the generations to come? Okay, so again, at the grassroots level, I know there's not even grassroots level, but cases of poverty, right? We're also dealing with education disparities as well. And this is not just right here in like different parts of the communities or in Kenya alone, but even, other parts of the world, we're seeing this. We're also seeing, cases of war, and the women tend to suffer the most, right? And this has remained sort of like key obstacles, over a long period of time. And when you think about the solutions that can come, with the same, how do we then tackle this? Because yes, there have been ways that have been tried and trusted, and they have worked, and there are some that have not worked. So some of these unforeseen challenges that would put more women at risk as compared to the men, but it doesn't mean the men don't also suffer from the same. So how then do we prepare for such eventualities? For example, cases of war, right? You talked about post-election violence, which again puts more women at risk. So then how do we prepare for such eventualities to make sure that, no one
suffers? It doesn't happen
again.
Yes,
and first of all, it doesn't happen, and no one suffers at the expense.
Okay, I would say that under the projects that we are doing with Reinvent, we've gone through 2 elections now, with as we were being supported by the Reinvent project. And Kisumu has been one area that has been rampant with cases of violence, post-election violence. And the most affected during post-election violence in Kisumu have been women. We've had cases of sexual violence. We've had cases of physical violence that is perpetrated on women. We, at the grassroots, under the sector working group, when we are looking at issues of peace and security for women, we've started the grassroots movements for women. How are women coming on the table when it comes to issues of peace and security?
Okay.
Because for me, I think that is one area that we had left out as a country. But now a lot is happening. Women are in the peace and security sectors. And for us at the grassroots, we just decided how do we start our own movements at the community level, where a sister looks after the other sister. When it comes to issues of violations, how do you come and support one another? Then how do we also bring our male counterpart? Because when we are looking at issues of violations, the higher percentage of violators are men. When we are talking about war, when war is there, it is the men who go to war. Women remain at home. And when they remain at home, a lot of violations are done when they are alone with their daughters in their homes. So we are talking about issues of peace and security, women, peace and security. Looking even at the resolution 1329 that Kenya is a signatory to. We have the Kenya National Action Plan, Kenya National Action Plan 2, that most of us are now trying to implement what was in the NAP 2. And I would pick as an organization, we are looking at issues of women participation when it comes to issues of peace and security. We are looking at response. We are looking at issues of protection, which now comes in handy with the police. How do women participate on issues of peace and security? We'll talk about issues of forming the women grassroots movements. And we could look at issues of response. How are we responding to cases that are being reported on violations of rights of women at the community level?
I see that.
Yes.
I see that.
Yeah.
And I'm very keen, especially on the whole aspect of response, right? And even when we talk about, in a case of gender-based violence, who do we report to, right? Because there's also
that
women would say,
the
by the time it gets
pathway.
to the right person,
Yes.
it's like it's almost too late, right? What role then can communities, can neighbors, play, especially when it comes to response, right? And I really want us to pick up on the same after the break, and also understand, so then what opportunities are available for stakeholders, for all of us really, as a community to act towards achieving a gender inclusive society or a nation and world, really, at the end of the day. So there's so much to come on the other side of the break. Stay with us. The show is Your World. You want to be part of the conversation, feel free to do so. And that is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X. Okay, and then tag us as well. And let's just get to understand some of the ways that we can collaborate together to make sure that we promote a gender inclusive society and nation at large. So much to come on the other side. See you after the break. All right, welcome back. Time really flies, 30 minutes past the hour, and there's so much to be discussed right here on the show as far as the conversation, and this is on assessing gender inclusion right here in the country. How are we doing? Yes, we have made strides, but how much more needs to be done to make sure that we achieve a gender inclusive society and nation, right, at large. And today, to help us with the conversation, we have Margaret Mbira Omondi, who is the Executive Director, Women Concerns Kenya, and this is a Kisumu-based women grassroots movement, but at the same time, under the Reinvent program, right? And one of the things that actually read says the Reinvent program considers gender equality as a key characteristic or marker of a safe and secure community, and therefore part of the work is targeted at, tackling some of the, the issues that are there in the society. But I really like this aspect of a key characteristic or marker, right? And we've talked a lot about how far we've come as a country, the opportunities that are there for us, us in general, okay? Not just the government or the leaders or, the people responsible or the law enforcement or, the fathers of the home. No, all of us have a role to play. And we've understood some of the opportunities that are there for us to work on. But the biggest question is, why do we still have these cases? Is it time that we look at it differently? Is it time that we enforce stricter measures, punishments, you
Yeah.
know, and all those things. What is it that we need to do differently, starting now and moving forward, so that really in the next few years we don't have, you know, talk about cases of gender-based violence, you know, poverty, you know, war, you know, injustice amongst, you know, the people
Yeah,
in the society.
Yeah, for me, I would say that what we need to do more in terms of ending violence at the community level. Now, we talk violence in general, not only violence against women.
Yeah.
We have laws that needs to be implemented.
Yes.
And some of them, we need to enforce them.
Okay.
Because I think there is where we might be having a bigger problem and a big challenge. Because sometimes somebody is arrested. Community members believe that when they get a perpetrator of violence and the perpetrator is arrested,
Okay.
they expect to see some justice being done.
That's true.
Yeah, and this is where sometimes they really want to look at even the judiciary and start wondering, why is this person out?
Okay.
Yes.
In the first place.
Much
yes.
as we know that they also have rights. But sometimes this is a repeat offender. We take a case of a defilement where somebody has maybe defiled a child twice in a community, and this guy is out. So we start asking questions that
Why are they out?
Why are they out?
Yeah.
He did it the first time. He was arrested. He came back on bond. He's done it again. He's back. So these are the areas that we really need to work on, because we have our laws, but how are we now enforcing our laws? And this is now where it leaves community members wondering, are we really protected by our own government that is supposed to protect us? Yeah. Those are the questions that we need to be asking. We need to be asking ourselves. Another area that we also need to look at is, we've talked about empowerment of women, and both women and men.
Amen, yes.
We need to have serious conversations in the community and serious engagement when it comes to issues of ending violence, and majorly ending violence against women. How are we being responsible as community members? We keep on saying sometimes issues of our culture, we have not been empowered, but the law is there to protect. The law is there to also take care of those who have violated rights of others, but this is not happening. Yeah.
I see that. And one of the, I see a comment here. This is Diehard Warrior on Twitter who says, "Mmesahau boy child kabisa." Among so many other comments that he's put on X, not on Twitter, on X. Okay, it says, "Mmesahau boy child kabisa." Can we really just talk about
the boy child?
That? Because when we started the show, we said it's not about us versus them. It's how about, let's put our heads together, right, and see how we can promote a just society and, you know, inclusive society. Not saying let's focus on this gender first because they're catching up, and then we'll look at this. No, it's about how do we do that. So can we just emphasize on that point, so that men don't feel left behind when we're having conversations around, you know, gender inclusivity, gender rights, right? For example. What is it that we need to do? Please talk to this guy, Diehard Warrior.
Diehard Warrior would say that, as I had said earlier, we are seeing as women also that we've moved a step ahead, but we've come to realize that this can only happen for us to achieve our goal of ending violence against women and girls. Men must be part of our journey. And as I had said earlier, we have in the sector working group, we have the male engagement thematic area, which we are now taking seriously as different counties to see the engagement of men in all the activities that we are doing at the community, so that we don't leave the men behind. And right now we are engaging young boys in schools on issues of GBV. Because we find that even in school, sometimes you have issues of violence against young girls perpetrated by the boys themselves in school. So we have partners who are already doing activities on how to work with the boys. We have those who are using sports to end issues of violence, where they will have a team where both boys and girls team up on one side and look at issues of violence against women and girls. How do they play football together? how do they work together as a team in school? Yeah.
I see that. And is it time that maybe we not impose, but impose some sort of responsibility?
Yes.
Because every single time we talk about anything gender, we usually get such comments that boy child amesahauliwa, mumeacha boy child, we only focus on the girl child, and we don't really speak about the issues that affect boy child. And one of the biggest questions that I usually ask is that what are you doing as a person?
Yes.
Male or female, to also support this boy child so that we don't forget them, right? Because when a lot of emphasis is put on, the issues that are affecting the girl child, I mean, I could understand why some people would say, yeah, but where's the boy child, right?
Yeah.
So is it that we impose some sort of responsibility to say, before you ask, where is the boy child? We ask ourselves, what am I doing to support
the boy child?
The boy child,
yes.
yeah.
I would want to answer that question in a very simple way.
Okay.
We both have these young boys in our homes.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
All of us. You
Yes.
have your sons.
Yes.
You have your brothers,
cousins, nephews.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where do we start looking at now taking the boy child on this other side end of the goal, and the girls on this other end? When they are in that home, they are one thing.
That's true.
Yes.
That's
so
true.
you start asking yourself, where do we now go wrong, where we start thinking that now we are looking down
So
upon,
like secluding,
yes,
this
secluding
agenda.
the young boys. The issue is, when you start discussion on issues of gender, majority of men always thinks that gender is a woman.
No, it is
And
not.
that's where
Yeah.
we start having our problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you start thinking that you're talking about gender equality, and they think, hawa mama sasa wameanza na ile maneno yao ya kutaka kukua kama wanaume. And yet they're the same ones who now come to cry again that girls have been over-empowered, and the boys are left behind. But I would think that we really need to work on the boy child, because these daughters that we are empowering, it will reach a point that they are so empowered that an empowered boy will not be able to live with them in the same house.
That's
we are talking on issues of marriage. One time they want...
someone actually, I think it's the same person I had. Okay, utakosa meant to marry.
Yeah, so we are looking at how do we start engaging with our young boys at an early age. We need to have a community that embrace both boys and girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I remember when I was in primary school, and the first time we were taught about sanitary towels and periods, menstruation and all those things. We were taking girls alone to a secluded room, and the boys were never allowed.
And they would
to
want always to
around.
know,
And
why is it that you people
yes,
are locked in the room?
They were peeping to see what are these people
is
talking about.
Yes.
But I hear that has changed now, because then the boys are involved, so that if anything happens, and for example, a girl messes, right? They will not be quick to point fingers and laugh, but they would actually be there to protect.
And
which is a good
support.
thing to see. It's a good thing to see, that happen. Anyway, we were talking about...
but just to add on that, I think this is something on the issues of menstrual. I like what the men are doing now. Yeah. It was very difficult in olden days to see that a man walks into a supermarket and picks a sanitary towel. But now you would find a father and her daughter in the supermarket shopping for the girl, and they would pick the sanitary towels
together.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's beautiful to see. I mean, listen, Okay, so we're talking about, during the break, we're talking about what Women Concerns, Center has been able to do, and this has worked over time. Do you want to take us through that, and what other communities, despite culture, despite language, but despite all these things, can borrow? Because at the end of the day, there's something that we can learn from one another, right? Yeah. So what is it that we can learn from what has worked from Women Concerns Center?
I would want to say that what has worked for us, the most important one is that we have a project that we call Engendering Socialization, to end violence against women and girls. Here we are working with socialization agents. One of them being the Council of Elders, the Luo Council of Elders. Right. Then we have the Bunge la Wananchi, and we have the Boda Boda Fraternity in Kisumu. Okay. When we talk about the Council of, engaging with the Council of Elders, we were looking at issues of women, land, and property rights. And we look at the alternative justice system, which now allows the Council of Elders and the mediators from courts that they can go to the community and have a discussion on issues that are affecting women, on issues of land. Before, women could not afford. Most women can't afford the legal fee when cases are taken to court. So in most occasions, you'd find that they're being deprived of what really belongs to them. So I would say that the success story that we've had with the Council of Elders is that they are doing a lot of sittings at the community level on cases of land and women land and property rights. And so many women have been taken back to their homes. Because you'll find that maybe the women who are living in the informal settlement, majority of them don't come from Kisumu town per se. They come from Siaya, they come from Homa Bay, the other counties. When they bring the cases to the office at Women Concern Center, cases of land we normally refer to the Council of Elders, who are ready to go to the community, be it in Siaya, be it in Homa Bay, to just have a sitting with the family members to see the reason why the woman cannot be given back her lands. And it is working well. Yes. When we come to Bunge la Wananchi, we involve them because of issues of violence against women during elections. And they've been very, very, very supportive on that. We talk about our women aspirants, how are they supporting the women during campaigns. And they've done a lot of work. What they wanted them to be trained on was on GBV, because some cases go to the Bunge la Wananchi, GBV cases, but they did not know how to handle. So Reinvent came in handy, gave us support. We trained the members of the Bunge la Wananchi on ending violence against women. And currently they are doing those activities on their own, because we're also looking at issues of sustainability. How are these projects being sustained? Because the next day Reinvent is not there. As a community, how are we continuing with what we started? And
even scaling it to
other to other counties. Then the involvement of border fraternity in Kisumu was the issue of violations of young girls. Because a lot of cases were coming in on issues of sexual violence on young girls, and most majorly they were the ones being accused of perpetrating these violences. So we said, how can we bring them in? And also help us, support us in taking care of, we call it, you're taking care of your sisters, you're taking care of your mothers, you're taking care of your grandmothers. So in case one of them now tries to violate the rights of the girls, because they give the girls rights to school. And sometimes the border members themselves know that so and so is spoiling the girl who he carries. So how do they also come and support us? So these are areas that are working very well, and they are sustainable. Because these are things that can work whether the project is there or whether the project has ended. Then another area that we are also seeing is strengthening the referral pathway, where we have the duty bearers, the stakeholders, and everybody involved when it comes to issues of violence at the community level. How do I, as a responsible community, report a case of violation? And how do we do a follow-up on that case? A case is here of defilement. We have reported to the police station. The survivor has gone to for medical attention. Then from there, what happens? Are we following up this case as a community? That is something that is really working well in the community, because the referral pathway is very straight. Each and everybody on the referral pathway takes responsibility to make sure that this survivor is sorted out. Then we are looking at issues of the safe shelter, which is a big problem.
It's a very big challenge.
A very big challenge, a very big problem in the country. And for me, I would say if there was anything that I would really want our county governments to take responsibility, is to just have the safe shelters. Because sometimes a woman is violated. She doesn't know where to go. Yes. And we are talking about maybe those ones who have gone also to the safe shelter. How are they taken care of? Because they will not stay in the safe shelter forever.
That's true.
How do we now do the issue of reintegrating the survivor back to the community? And this now falls on our county governments, because they need to come up with laws that would also protect the survivors at the county level.
Yeah.
I'm happy that Kisumu County is coming up with a women empowerment bill that is already being worked on. It's soon going to the county assembly that will be looking at issues of reintegration of women back to the survivors back to the community.
Yeah.
Because when the bill is ready, it means we will be having a location under that. It makes work easy that when a woman leaves the shelter, how do you now reintegrate her back?
Yeah.
How do you even start a small biashara for her so
true.
that she can try to move on?
I was about to ask this, I mean, especially because poverty is such a big thing.
Yes.
You know, and we're also talking about, you know, unfair remuneration, you know, as well. So I want to believe when we talk about empowerment, it really encompasses all those things, you know, to make sure that this woman or this man, I want to say they are whole and whole in all this, you know, aspects. That's such that one area does not thrive, and then the other area continues to diminish. Okay, you talked about response before we went on a break, and how important this is, and this is from all levels, either from the household to the community, you know, to the counties, and all the way to the national level. How then do we involve all the stakeholders, from law enforcement to Nyumba Kumi, you know, right?
Yeah.
To even implementation of these beautiful laws
that we have
as a country. Can we just talk about how response is really, really important, and what are some of the areas that we need to strengthen as far as response is concerned?
Okay. I would say that when we come to response, the sector working group plays a very key role.
Yeah.
Because in the sector working group, we have different partners, as I said earlier. We have the duty bearers, the county commissioners at the county level chairs the gender sector working group. And then we have the CSOs and other stakeholders. A lot of activities that are done are being planned at the county level. But it is up to the sub-county level until the village level, where we now find the Nyumba Kumi, we found the chiefs down there, and we find community members, plus the community committees that we have on GBV. When a case is in a particular community, the referral becomes very easy when it comes to responding to these cases at the community level, where a community members knows that my jirani had a case yesterday. How do you start following up on your own way? Because immediately a case happens, you will find that there's a paralegal. We have so many paralegals who have been trained in the community paralegals, who, when a case happens, the cases are handed over to a paralegal. The paralegal follows up this case to the police station, hospital, and making sure that the case reaches the courts. When the case reaches the courts, how do they do a follow-up as paralegals? As this is happening, the psychosocial part is being done by maybe another partner. And we've been very instrumental as an organization on psychosocial support for survivors that is currently being supported by the Reinvent project. So we do a lot of psychosocial support for survivors. We are running a safe shelter that we have women and girls who come there. So after this, we start preparing the survivor. Much as she is at the shelter, we start preparing her that she will not live in the shelter forever. Yes, she will have to leave the shelter. As we are doing this, we also look at her family members. It is very, very important to have a survivor at the shelter, but do a follow-up even with the family members.
As well.
Because sometimes she can't go back to her home, but she has some other relatives that she can stay with. And in most occasions, you'll find that when we have a case of incest, most mothers are normally sent away from their homes. Yes, because immediately she reports a case, she has to leave that home. She will not be wanted. And this is where we say, sometimes even her own family will not want to take her back. So that's where you find women sometimes move out. She's in the shelter, leaving the shelter. How do you now get out of the shelter? Let her start off her life Yes.
Okay. All right. And there's so many things that different communities and different counties can borrow from what has worked for you. What would you say was the biggest challenge in implementing, all those projects just to make sure that they work? Because I want to believe it.
Yeah, the challenges are there.
Yeah, an easy road, right?
Yeah. Challenges are there. The biggest challenge is issues of resources.
Okay.
That is number one. Number two, over expectation of community members
All right.
to organizations that are doing work at the community, which as an organization for us, we are trying to make sure that the community understand that this is their problem. And it is a problem that they're only ones who can resolve it.
Yeah.
You don't wait for somebody to come with funding
No.
to help you solve your problem at the community level.
Yeah.
How are you also engaging as a person? Because like issues of violence, for me, I think there are some that community members can do it very easily. Yes. Without even saying that we need money.
Waiting for
somebody to come and support you.
Yeah.
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 Then another challenge, the biggest challenge that we have is the issue of the safe shelter.
Yeah.
That one, they just have to work on it.
No, seriously, because again, when you look at the number of the government-run shelters, they're very few.
They're very few.
That are private-run.
Yeah.
And so sometimes space is a very big issue.
And it is expensive because safe shelters need proper support. Because when you have survivors in the shelter, you also do not want to violate their rights.
Yeah.
And another challenge that I would say, when you have girls who have been violated and they're school going, you need to put them in school because you cannot keep them in the shelter and they're not going to school.
Yeah.
So that is another very, very big challenge. But I would say in our case, we've been supported so much by the Ministry of Education. When we have cases that girls need support, they're from different areas. They were in school, maybe a Form 2 or Form 3.
Yeah.
To get them spaces in the public schools. We've been supported.
Yeah, I see that. So then, and understanding all these obstacles and understanding all these challenges and what we need to do in terms of learning and understanding like the adaptive ways that we can we can implement so that again we solve some of these issues and like you said earlier on, prevent some of them from even happening. At all, there's so much that needs to be done, and the biggest question is then what are some of these opportunities that are available for stakeholders to take part in? And like I said, not just stakeholders,
everybody,
but everybody, to take part in, so that in the next hopefully 2 years, right, 3 years, 5 years, and even generations to come would have a just society, would have a gender inclusive society. What are some of these opportunities that we need to tap into as soon as now?
The biggest one is issues of information. Very, very key. How do we start enlightening our community members?
Okay.
Through radios, through local radio talk shows, having community conversations, dialogue forums to create awareness on how to prevent cases of violations. Then a lot of people at the community level, at the grassroots level, do not know what the laws say. So how are we also...
And even understanding their rights, first of all.
It's a big problem because sometimes somebody does something and you ask yourself, kwani huyu ajui kuna sheria? So that is one thing that we also need to do. Proper conversations on our local radio stations, having spaces like what I have here today, and just come and have a discussion. Talk about the laws that are there, issues that are there that needs to govern us as a community when it comes to ending violence against women and looking at issues of gender equality and inclusion.
Okay. All right. So as we bring this to a close, and I'll take this as your parting shot, in your eyes, what exactly does a gender inclusive society look like? Let's say, again, like I said, in the next 2 years, 3 years, what is it that you'd like to see different from what we have now? And I want you to look at
what I would want to see is how men, women, boys and girls engage at the community level, responding to issues that affect women and girls at the community and the boy child. We are looking at issues of male engagement. In the next 2 years, what do we want to achieve as a nation? For me, I would say I would want to see a nation where women and men play important roles in the agenda of development in our country.
I see that.
Yes.
I really, really like that. I really like that. Thank you so much, Margaret Mbira-Mondi, Executive Director, Women Concerns Center, here to share her insights really as far as what gender inclusion looks like. Okay, what is it that we need to do as a people, as a community, as a nation, and counties, and then the nation, as far as a just and an inclusive community looks like. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights this morning.
For having me,
and thank you really for being part of the show as well, watching us and giving us your comments. Time is not on our side. We might not go through them, but again, keep them coming on our socials, and that is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie and at Reinvent Kenya as well. All right, but have yourselves a lovely day ahead and enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thanks. Thank you.